Hello, today we are going to discuss about a very important topic, why IoT projects fail. Before we get into that, let's understand two different types of IoT. One is CIoT, which is customer IoT, and the other type is IIoT, which is industry IoT. And the difference is that CIoT focuses on convenience for the customer, whereas IIoT is strongly focused on the industry and is more system centric. Its focus is on improving the security, efficiency, and process efficiencies that are focused on return of investment, operational excellence, etc. etc. Now you may ask how IoT is different than PLC, but that's not the goal of this video, so I'm not going to get into that. So let's get to that discussion, why IoT projects fail. If you look at Microsoft reports on IoT, Microsoft says that around 30% of IoT projects fail in the proof of concept stage. And there was another report from Cisco a couple of years ago. It says that the failure rate of IoT project is around 75%. But what are the key reasons for these IoT projects to fail? And one of the main issue is that most of the organizations, they implement IoT for single problem. That is, most leaders make mistake of deploying IoT for addressing one or two business problems for their business unit. They don't look at the IoT implementation as a holistic business improvement, and that impacts when your business need to scale IoT implementations to other processes and areas. So holistic planning for IoT implementation is required, that how your business unit goals are associated with your organization goals. And when you are looking at IoT implementations, what are your business processes and how these business processes are integrated with other business units. And more than business process, you need to look at the workflows, that how workflow happens within your organization or industry, and how data flows from one business unit to another in order to create that business value that people talk about. Now, that holistic business planning for IoT implementation, in order to identify integration points between different processes and how to effectively utilize the IoT infrastructure to have organization-wide successful implementation. Now, from the business goal perspective, your business goal could be process efficiency, your business goal could be reducing cost, your business goal could be driving revenue, or your business or your company might be launching a new service or a new business model. It could be around safety or security. It could be around asset utilization. So that you need to exactly find out what your company is trying to do before you even think about IoT projects. The second important area is technology skills. So a lot of organizations, they have IoT skill sets, but the kind of mix that we need in order for a project to be successful is rarely available within one organization. So you need to understand what sort of skill sets you need for an IoT implementation, not just for a business unit. For a large scale implementation, what sort of skill sets you need and how do you plan on getting on those skill sets. The third one is incomplete IoT solutions that yields incomplete results. We know that this technology is evolving at an unprecedented rate. So do these applications for these solutions, and there are different applications on top of IoT. So it is easy to get excited about the potential of the latest IoT device and what it can do for an enterprise, whereas the ability to gather data is paramount to success of those IoT projects. You may be having a fantastic IoT solution, but how do you gather that data, how you analyze it, and how it fits in the context of business? That's very important. And the third one is some of the key connectivity challenges that sometimes sink IoT projects prematurely. One of that is billing. The other one is power consumption, scalability. So from the billing perspective, though smartphones and other mobile devices have unlimited plans, no such thing exists for IoT devices. So large deployments that are not carefully plotted can easily increase the cost of your IoT projects, which can hurt the viability of an IoT project in a business setting. So you need to be careful about how you are evaluating your projects from the business standpoint. The other area is power consumption. It's not so big, but in some organization it could be, because IoT devices don't draw a lot of power on their own. But having one go down because of a depleted battery can lead to costly downtime or incomplete data sets. So if you are talking about millions of devices, you need to plan for that as well. Same goes for scalability, because you are investing so much in IoT, so that your businesses and different business locations are prepared for the challenges that comes with the growing deployment of IoT infrastructure. So powering, connecting, monitoring, and potentially servicing a fleet of hundreds of individual devices and the SIM card they contain can be a pitfall for developers without a meaningful plan or a partnership in place. So that's another area where you need to have a proper kind of hold when you are looking at your AI project, IoT projects. That's the third one. Now, how you develop your business case and how you look at implementation and prototyping. So there are different areas, for instance, industrial and embedded design systems. You have electrical and mechanical systems. You have back-end and front-end development system, and you have general kind of technology components as well. Now you look at the landscape, it kind of divides into 4 different categories. When you look at the industrial and embedded designs, it requires a very specific type of skill set. Similarly, when you look at the electrical and mechanical knowledge, you can't have an IT person fulfill that role. Same goes on with the back-end and front-end development. When you are putting together all your IoT infrastructure, what a back-end and front-end developer can do cannot be done by industrial and embedded design engineers. And then there are some generic expertise required as well. So as I said right in the beginning, the kind of skill sets that you need in order to have your project successful or program successful, you need to have a clear understanding of the critical mass that you need for the project to be successful. Now, how do you integrate your IoT system with other advanced technologies? That's another area which is generally left out when companies are planning for large scale deployments or building the business cases. Security measurements. When we talk about cybersecurity, most of the time it is in the context of applications. But when we talk about IoT, it is not just the software component. We are talking about communication technology, we are talking about hardware, we are talking about software, and as well as there are number of other areas which are important to be addressed from the security standpoint. And then depending upon which country you are in, you have to fulfill those compliance from the endpoint security perspective, what sort of communication protocols you want to utilize, what sort of access control you will have, what sort of encryption and fraud management. Those are some of the measures you need to have in place right in the beginning, not in depth, but at a very high level, in order to make sure that you are addressing those security requirements, and you have those security requirements in place even before it goes out for the business case development. Now, challenges during IoT implementation is simple, like compatibility and longevity. There are so many vendors in this space which are talking about different sensors, different devices, and coming up with a standard is is a challenge. So yeah, it's good that you engage the right partner and the right skill sets so that you get a complete and clear and a transparent understanding of this device landscape. Security issues I already mentioned. Data storage issue is another area. Power management of IoT devices I already explained. Now, unstructured data processing. Most of the time when we talk about the data processing, it is structured data processing, but IoT sensors collect unstructured data, and that is difficult to use for analysis sometimes. So collected data may contain anomalies if the sensor's environment or systems are not stable. So it is important to identify data quality issues to improve the decision making. Now there are another analytics and presentation layer challenges that I'm going to cover in a different video, but for this time, this is it from my side. Thank you so much. Have a great day.